Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. In this explainer, we're diving into one of the most volatile confrontations on the planet, the direct conflict between Iran and Israel.
Right now, tensions are at a breaking point. You've got air, sea, and ground forces on full alert, and honestly, the whole world is watching. For years, this was a conflict fought in the shadows, but the game has completely changed. What we're witnessing is a fundamental shift that has put the entire region on the brink of a war that could literally reshape the Middle East.
So, how in the world did we get here? Well, the whole story really pivots on the moment a long-running, deniable shadow war burst out into the open. The unwritten rules that govern decades of proxy fights and covert ops, they've been completely torn up, kicking off a new and way more dangerous chapter. You see, for decades, both sides kind of operated behind this veil of plausible deniability, right? Clashing through their proxies, and then, suddenly, everything kicked into high gear. In April 2024, Iran just shattered that status quo with its first ever direct attack launched from its own territory. A little over a year later, by June 2025, direct strikes by both nations had become the new, terrifying reality. The key thing to get here is that the old mechanisms that kept this thing from boiling over for so long, they've totally failed. So how do these two rivals actually stack up militarily? Let's start on the first battlefield, the skies. And believe me, in the air, the difference is just staggering. Because it really all boils down to one single critical objective for Israel. And that objective? It's called air superiority. This isn't just about having more planes, it's about owning the sky. It means you can operate freely, hit whatever targets you want whenever you want, while your enemy is basically stuck on the ground. And in this area, we see the first huge gap between these two nations. On one side, you've got the Israeli Air Force. I mean, one of the most modern and battle-tested in the world, packed with cutting-edge American tech. And on the other side, well, experts describe Iran's Air Force as being in a pitiful state. We're talking about a collection of aging jets, some of them actually flying since before the 1979 revolution, all of them starved by decades of sanctions. The actual numbers just make this gap even more obvious. And when you look at the numbers, man, it becomes crystal clear. Israel is fielding a modern fleet with the F-35I stealth fighter as its crown jewel. This thing is a flying computer, one of the most advanced jets in the world. Iran, meanwhile, is trying to make do with a mix of old Soviet MiGs and, get this, pre-revolution American jets. As one expert put it, you cannot expect miracles from ancient aircraft. In a dogfight, this isn't a fair fight. It's a total technological mismatch. So, if Iran knows it can't win a straight-up fight in the air, how does it plan to fight back? Well, the answer is to fight asymmetrically. It basically means you don't play by your opponent's rules. Instead of trying to match Israel plane for plane, Tehran has poured money into weapons that sidestep a direct confrontation and create totally different kinds of problems. Just look at their navy, for example. Iran isn't building massive aircraft carriers. Nope. Instead, its whole strategy is built around swarms of fast attack boats and small, sneaky submarines. The goal isn't to win a big sea battle. It's to threaten civilian oil tankers and cargo ships, to control vital sea lanes, and to make any military action against them incredibly painful for the global economy. But even this threat is small compared to their biggest ace in the hole. It all comes down to this one number: over 3,000. That's how many ballistic missiles Iran has. It is the largest and most diverse missile arsenal in the entire Middle East. This, right here, is Iran's primary deterrent. It's their great equalizer against enemies with better technology. And don't make the mistake of thinking it's just about quantity. Over the last decade, Iran has made enormous leaps in the precision and accuracy of its missiles and drones. These aren't just crude weapons anymore. They're becoming increasingly sophisticated tools that can hit very specific, high-value targets. This is the real heart of Iran's strategy. This brings us to the third battlefield. And this is one that affects every single one of us, no matter where we live: the global economy. A direct conflict here doesn't just stay here. It sends shockwaves through the world's most critical energy artery. Which leads us to a really terrifying question. What happens if the Strait of Hormuz closes? We're talking about a narrow waterway where about a third of all the world's seaborne oil passes through. Any disruption here becomes an immediate global crisis. So economic analysts have looked at this, and they've basically mapped out 3 ways this could go from bad to worse. It could start with a mild shock, tougher sanctions. Then it could escalate to a moderate shock, a total shutdown of Iranian oil exports. But the absolute nightmare scenario, the severe shock, is the complete closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And the impact on oil prices? It would be instant, and it would be brutal. In that mild scenario, oil might hover around $75 a barrel. In a moderate shock, it jumps to 90. But in that severe scenario, we could see prices absolutely skyrocket to $130 a barrel. A spike like that would send the entire global economy into a tailspin.
So what does that mean for you and me? It means a huge surge in inflation, maybe hitting 6% in the US alone. Any hope for interest rate cuts would just evaporate, and real incomes would fall for people all over the world. It's a pretty stark reminder that a regional conflict in the Middle East is never, ever just a regional problem. So let's pull back and look at the big picture. We've got these lopsided forces, these asymmetric threats, and massive economic stakes. What does all this do to the one thing that's supposed to stop wars from happening in the first place? I'm talking about deterrence.
You know, deterrence, at its core, is pretty simple. It's the art of convincing the other guy that starting a fight is a really, really bad idea. For decades, a fragile, unspoken kind of deterrence actually worked between Iran and Israel. But those direct strikes in 2024 and 2025, they proved that system is now completely broken. So what does the day after a direct attack actually look like? Well, you see this really fascinating and super fragile dynamic start to emerge. Politically, both governments might get a temporary rally-round-the-flag boost, but that won't last. In Israel, public support really depends on a clear win, while Iran's regime has to deal with a deeply divided population at home. Militarily, this forces Israel to aim for precise strikes, while Iran might feel pushed to launch a huge, disproportionate attack just to look strong. Both sides are walking an incredibly dangerous tightrope. And you know, this quote from the Gulf Research Center just nails it. The old playbook of just having a bigger stick isn't working anymore. Strategic interdependence just means both sides know a real war would tank the global economy they both rely on. And internal volatility? That means leaders in both countries are dealing with immense pressure from their own people. The simple math of who's stronger doesn't work anymore. It's gotten incredibly complex. Ultimately, what this all means is that the conflict has gone from being this abstract game of chess played with proxies, pins on a map, to the very real, very scary possibility of direct, devastating attacks on their own cities and infrastructure. This fundamentally changes how leaders in both Tehran and Tel Aviv have to calculate risk. Which leaves us with this final, really unsettling question. The old rules are gone. A new, far more dangerous game has begun. Can these two rivals find some kind of new balance, or is a catastrophic miscalculation that leads to all-out war now almost inevitable? Thank you for joining us here at the Global WarWatch Network. If you found this breakdown valuable, please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe. We really want to hear what you think, so drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And to keep the conversation going, join us on social media. All the links you need are in the description. Thanks again for your time.